Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to WCS America, the round of 16. We're live here in New York City. We just saw Hero 2-0 Scarlet fairly convincingly, and now we're about to head into the second match of the night between Suppy and Revival. Standing next to me, of course, both on Team Evil Geniuses. It's time to ask them some questions. Suppy, we'll start with you. First of all, are you done with finals?
Yeah, I finished finals last week, so I'm finally done with that, and I was able to practice more than normal. But I still wish my finals had ended a little bit earlier so I could have practiced more.
So what do you think of your bracket draw? You got 3 Zergs and a Protoss. Were you happy, sad when you saw it?
If this was Wings of Liberty, I would have been ecstatic because my Zerg versus Zerg and Wings of Liberty was, I think, really, really good. But in Heart of the Swarm, it's changed a lot, and it's a lot more variable. There's a lot of different viable strategies, so it's a lot different. Overall, I think it's a pretty tough group. All the people are really good. And I was a little bit disappointed that Scarlet was in the same group with me, especially because that meant I couldn't practice with her, which is normally what I would have done before this. But yeah, it's going to be a tough group.
Do y'all have similar practice partners? I know there's like a Skype group that y'all are in with like Ghost User and Hendrilisk, I think?
Yeah, Hendrilisk and Sasquatch and Major. Yeah, we practice a lot together. So I used them as much as I could. So we'll see how it works.
Okay, and you know, leading into this tournament, you've only played ZVTs. You know, you're having to adjust a little bit. Like, like talk about your matchups, ZVP and ZVT, or excuse me, ZVP and ZVZ compared to ZVT.
I think ZVT was actually my strongest matchup, especially because I played so much and I practiced a lot with the Muslim. He was really, really good practice. ZVP, I'm probably the least confident in because I did prepare a lot of ZVZ for this group. Not so much ZVP because there's just one Protoss. Yeah. But my ZVZ is feeling a little bit better after finals. Before finals, I felt really bad, but yeah. I think it's a little bit better now. I haven't tested against the Koreans though, so who knows what'll happen.
I guess we'll find out. Now, the Spore Crawler recently changed. What do you think about the change? Are you happy about it, sad about it? What's up?
I mean, I don't want to reveal too much about my strategy, even though he doesn't like to speak English. I think it changes the game a little bit. There's a lot more viable strategies. You saw Snoot using 1/1 Lings and Infestors and stuff in order to take out an ST. So there's definitely a slight shift. It's encouraging people to use non-muta styles, which I think we might see today.
So you're from California. You're the only player left in this tournament actually from the United States. You know, how does that add any pressure? You know, how confident are you that you're going to advance out of this group?
It does add some pressure because I feel like I'm representing, you know, all of America. But I also think that, you know, people would understand if I wasn't able to make it out of this group. Team Liquid prediction didn't predict me to get out of this group. But hopefully I can prove them wrong.
All right, we'll find out. Best luck to you. Now, Revival, you've been in Korea a bit lately. You also recently joined Team Evil Geniuses. How has that adjustment to joining the team been for you? How do you like your time at the Pro House, the EGTL house in Korea?
최근에 김동현 선수가 이제 EG에 들어오면 입단을 하면서 EG에서 프로리그를 뛰고 있는데 기분이 어떠세요? EG 팀에 속해서 EGTL로서 이렇게 같이 프로리그 뛰는 게?
프로리그를 할 수 있다는 게 정말 기쁜 것 같은데 제가 프로리그에서 성적이 그렇게 좋은 편이 아니라서 좀 많이 아쉬움이 남아요.
I'm happy that I can compete in the Pro League, but I'm not doing so well in the Pro League. That's something that I have to. I'm not happy with it, with the result in the Pro League, but I'm really happy that I can play Pro League at the EGTL house.
So looking at your group, you have Hero, Scarlet, and Suppy. Is there anyone you're most afraid of, and how confident are you that you're going to advance in top 2 out of this group?
조에, 서피, 스칼렛, 그리고 송현덕 선수 이렇게 김동현 선수까지 4명이 있는데 어떤 선수가 가장 껄끄러운 상대가 될 것 같고 그리고 김동현 선수는 8강 진출을 할 수 있는지 얼마만큼 자신 있는지.
제일 껄끄러운 선수는 현덕이 형인 것 같고요. 그리고 제가 저그전에 워낙 자신 있어서 저는 일단 올라갈 수 있을 것 같아요.
The players that I'm worried about is Hero, of course, Liquid Hero, but my ZVZ is really good. I'm very confident with it, so I can make it out of the group no matter what.
All right, well, best of luck to you both. If you could please shake hands and report to your computers. Best of luck. Guys, you're watching WCS America Round of 16 live from New York City. Match 2 coming up between Suppy and Revival. totalbiscuit and axslav, back to you.
Thank you very much indeed. Nick, we've got a little bit of ZVZ coming up. That's, of course, a harbinger of the future. We've got quite a lot coming in this group. And it's a great time to do it as well, because suddenly something has changed quite dramatically as a result of the Spore Crawler.
That's right. Spore Crawler really changes the matchup a lot. We saw Snoot use it extensively in his matches when he got through that group, winning both his series quite convincingly, of course. Right now, we're in the second series of the day. We just saw Hero take out Scarlet 2-0. This is the WCS America Premier League round of 16, Group C. Hero now is in the winner's match. He's going to face the winner of Suppy vs. Revival, and then the winner of that match will advance along with the winner of the 5th match of the day. The match we're about to see, though, is going to be ZVZ, like you said, Suppy vs. Revival. Both these guys sounded, you know, at least Revival, I think, sounded very confident. Suppy was kind of not quite sure about where his confidence was.
Well, I think it took a huge knock when he lost to Hello Kitty repeatedly, so that might have had something to do with it, honestly. And you never know. I mean, the results against Hello Kitty could affect him going into this tournament. There was some very harsh things said in Chinese. I can't repeat them on this broadcast, so I will be thrown out of the window. I believe that's how you do stuff. You have an airlock at MLG, you throw bad casters out.
Yes,
it's pretty unpleasant.
We actually have a plank too. It's full pirate style.
Oh, fantastic! So you actually get to walk them. That's great. You know, you get a little bit of wind in your hair before you fall to your inevitable doom. That's fantastic.
It's also something we have to do, because if you don't have the plank, they sometimes hit the windows of the lower floors on the way down.
Oh, that could be really inconvenient for them. Yeah, you've got to respect the fellow businesses here in this tower. All right, so we do have Suppy versus Revival. This is, of course, going to be a team kill, going into an alliance kill, very much so. And we don't mean Naniwa. We mean, of course, EG and Team Liquid have been in the unholy alliance with Pro League for quite some time. We already know that Pro League, of course, takes a very high priority, with Snoot returning to play Pro League before coming back to play his WCS round of 8 matches. Very, very stressful indeed for players like that. And of course, if Hero or Revival gets through here, they will, of course, have to do the same thing. So that's I cannot even imagine how stressful it must be to be able to handle both WCS and the rigors of Pro League, and against teams that don't do anything but practice for Pro League. Like, that's their existence within StarCraft 2 is because of Pro League. And then you got these guys having to fight. Now, I'm interested to see how Revival performs here. It's a shame that this match, of course, will be Zerg versus Zerg, because I do want to see Revival outside of the Pro League format. We haven't had a huge amount of chance to see that since he joined Evil Geniuses.
He's really been playing a lot in the Pro League, of course. Like you mentioned, on other tournaments you haven't seen him until this WCS. His Zerg vs. Zerg, though, it did look a little bit shaky in round 32. He lost that first series to Ghost User. Then he was able to come back through the losers and take out Idra and Ghost User back-to-back. So while it was a little bit shaky starting at first, he was able to come through and win in those DVZs. But he's up against an entirely different type of player in Suppy here today. This is going to be an ecstatic match. Are the players ready?
Well, yes, they are. So I'm going to hit that button and we're going to get into it on Belshir Vestige right here. And I'm intrigued to see. We've got Suppy, of course, the guy that did an exceptionally good job even getting to this point as a result of preparation against two incredibly strong Korean Terran players. And then we've got Revival, who is a rock-solid Zerg player who does not mess around and, as you said, made his way through some pretty tough opponents to get here, but did initially end up falling down to his teammate in that particular round. And here we go, folks. Welcome to Belshir Vestige. It's my pleasure to introduce your first player for the day. In the Blue Trunks, playing Zerg to the southeast, it is Evil Geniuses Revival. He doesn't need two hands for this game.
Nope. One-handed play, strictly.
Yeah, also, like, his hand's glowing green. Basically, it seems like Evil Geniuses have made an alliance with the Borg, and that worries me greatly. Scary, scary idea, man. Versus his opponent to the northwest position. The man who is tackling both University and Professional StarCraft 2 and is somehow succeeding at both. How unfair is that? In the Red Trunks playing Zerg to the northwest, Evil Geniuses Suppy.
Suppy's one of those guys that just makes you hate yourself, and you're like,
yeah.
Oh, I can't get this done because I'm doing this. And he's like, what are you talking about? I'm doing exceptionally well at one of the most toughest universities in the United States, in University of California, Berkeley. He's excelling there, and he's dominating people in the professional StarCraft 2 scene as well. I mean, he destroyed his group. and this group was tough.
It was. I think if anyone had said Suppy gets out of this group like that, they'd be saying, nah. Suppy's good, but he's not that good. And even our, Axiom players were surprised. They knew Suppy was a very good player. They were not expecting him to be that good. And of course, more to the point, prepared. When you saw his games against Ryung, for instance, he chose a very specific aggressive all-in build, the Roachbane all-in, because he knew Ryung's style and he created a counter for it. And we have seen foreign players doing this more against Koreans. Yesterday is a great example of that. We did, in fact, see that I believe that was a 9-pull. It was described by Moonclade as a 10-pull, but I'm pretty sure it actually went down on 9. One way or the other, it doesn't really matter because it was that very aggressive, speedling all-in play on the one base, which was able to catch Crank out in that game as well. And it's cool to see that. I think that if there's anything that we were hoping for with WCS, it's that foreigners would get the opportunity to prepare and brain trust with their fellow players to try and figure out how to beat these guys.
And they definitely have succeeded, at least several of them have, to a significant degree. Of course, this match is going to be very interesting because it's EG versus EG, Zerg versus Zerg here. Both these guys, on the same team, there's got to be a little bit of mind games, a little bit of they're both asking their other teammates, how does he play? Of course, Revival trains in Korea and Suppy in the States, but they probably share some practice partners at least, or at least they share common contacts and probably both bothering their manager to give him some inside secrets.
Yeah, I have to wonder how well that would actually work one way or the other. And I know Suppy has a lot of practice partners, but they are US-based. They hang around in the same channel and they complain about everything. It's great. I believe we were actually out with them last night for Korean barbecue, and they described it as the Cabal. Apparently, there is a large group of Zerg players in America that conspires against everybody else, and once you join the Cabal, you can never leave.
And you have to be a Zerg player who feels that you're playing an inferior race and the world's set against you, right?
I don't know about that. The guys that are in the Cabal, I don't think they don't really think that. Suppy is nauseatingly positive about everything, so I don't think that that's really his kind of style. Now that we've managed to fill the first couple of minutes, we can tell you what's going on. So, we've got a Baneling Nest coming down here for Suppy, and it came down after Revival scouted it. However, Revival clearly has a feel for what's going on. Of course, spotted his opponent had grabbed gas pretty early, and he's putting down 2 Spine Crawlers. He already has 3 Queens at the front as well. Any attempt to get super aggressive here by his opponent could very well be met with failure.
Suppy has scouted those spines, though, so of course he's not just going to make nothing but drones. When you see 2 spines, he knows there's no aggressive potential from Revival, and Revival staying gasless for so long is really interesting because he's been able to get a decent economy, but without speedlings or banelings, I don't think he can go and take a 3rd hatch anytime super soon. So now he's having to play catch-up in tech, and Suppy has got about a minute or 2 to do whatever he wants. He could play a relatively fast 3rd hatchery, he could tech straight to muteless. He looks like with that Evo chamber going down, in fact getting the armor upgrade, I think he's going to take a fast 3rd.
Yeah, he might. And it's interesting that he's doing the armor upgrade. This is something that I heard him talk about over dinner last night. And I also heard him mention on Artosis' show, Meta, which for some reason had nothing but Zerg players on last night or the night before. And they talked about this. They talked about the fact that these armor upgrades are becoming more important because they allow for a couple of different switches that deal better with Mutalisk without you having to go Muta versus Muta. And that's a really cool thing to see. The ground armor allows you to play the fast upgraded speedling style that we're actually seeing from Suppy right now with a large number of speedlings, but it then lets you transition into roaches. You can actually play a roach style with that armor upgrade, and it of course will be really nice and really effective. And you've got a lot of options there without having to go for that Spire play.
What's nice is also that he's already scouted the front of Revival, so he's seen the Roach Warren, and at least one of those Evos, maybe he scouted a little bit after the second one came down. So he knows he's facing off against Roaches, and knowing that Mutas aren't a threat means he doesn't have to worry about Spore Crawlers, he doesn't have to suicide and overload into his opponent's main base, but he does have to figure out, okay, he's going to have upgraded Roaches. No 3rd base yet from my opponent. Of course, he doesn't have the map control without speeding, so he can't take that 3rd base. I have to be looking out for some big Roach time attack, maybe with Nidus, maybe just with Roach speed.
Yeah.
What is he going to do to defend? Looks like he's getting his own Roaches, which is pretty much what you have to do if you don't have lair tech.
Yeah, there's no question about that. I mean, what else are you going to defend it with, really, in that case? The cool thing for Revival, of course, is that the style he's playing does allow him to use both of those evolution chambers and get the Roach speed upgrade. But with the +1 coming in, we will most likely see a Roach Hydra-esque style here from Revival. Yeah, otherwise, it is, of course, a complete waste of gas to actually get that +1 there. We see a scout here from Revival as well, who is able to spot the timing of the lair, get a good amount of information there. And I'm intrigued to see where this goes. Nice surround coming in right here as Suppy tries to engage. He catches one queen, takes it out, goes for a few roaches here as well. Really nice play. The bad thing about going for roach in this situation is that if there's only a couple out on the creep, they're very easy to surround and destroy with bare minimum losses from your speedlings. So that's looking really cool as well. And bear in mind, of course, that was a +1 speedling attack, which is always nice to see. So Revival takes a little bit of damage, and that puts him down to 2 queens here, which means he's not really going to be spreading creep. Not that that's vastly important in this particular matchup.
That was a huge moment for Suppy. Revival was a little bit ahead in the macro game because Suppy actually cut drones at 35 workers for quite a long time to get this mass speeding force. But Revival had no idea he had that many speedings, and so he was caught totally off guard and took a very, very bad trade. And now, Suppy, this attack...
It's going to happen again.
Oh my... This Suppy is just all over.
Revival, the nice choice of the burrow there, actually, allowing him to get around that style, evidently identifying the possibility that speedling surrounds could be damaging here. So he's able to save that. Really, really cool to see that being used here in this matchup. Now, Revival, unfortunately, has not been able to take a third base, whereas Suppy has. The Link surround comes in this engagement over here. However, Suppy has his own roaches. The burrow comes in. He needs an Overseer right now. He realizes that he's going to bring that into play. The reinforcements are starting to stream across the map here for Revival. So not having that Overseer there with him right then was unfortunate. Suppy could have taken a way better engagement if he'd had it. Now, of course, he's going to have his natural menace. Then Revival's going to do a straight-up roach run-by. It was not walled off by anything. We saw no queens, no roaches blocking that off. These roaches now get into the main base, and suddenly that means that Revival, Suppy has to pull back all of his forces to defend against this. Leaves his natural open, leaves his third open. There's strikes on all sides. Suppy's actually taking significant damage here. The burrow comes in. The Link surround is pretty good, and we will, of course, see how much damage was done here. Suppy is able to push away his opponent towards the natural. There is a little force trying to deal with this hatchery. They did pick off a queen as well, so that's good. These burrowed roaches are being incredibly annoying here, but they will eventually be cleaned up.
Some nice defense by Suppy, but throughout it all, he's actually never once in this game really had a drone advantage, but he does have that base advantage. So as soon as he stabilizes, he can just crank out drones like a maniac and get that economic advantage. Revival, though, he's not letting up.
Yeah, he's going for it again, and he will strike once more and see what he can do here. There are 11 more roaches on the field, though. A nice use of the Contaminate here going in from Revival, but a good concave for the defense here by Suppy, who is able to push that away, brings in flanking forces as well, and with the Overseer in play, that burrow will not be a factor. You want to know what's crazy from all of those engagements? Not a single worker was killed. Not one.
Both of them seem to have a non-violence against citizens
Apparently
agreement.
so. Evil geniuses do not kill the civilians.
They're not really evil, I guess.
No, they're actually bound by the Geneva Convention. Who knew? We've got Suppy now posturing with a good force. A second army of Revivalists coming in, roach on roach. It's very, very even now. Revival does have... He did have an upgrade advantage that's no longer in play, however. Great defensive concave here by Suppy, actually. That was a bad engagement for Revival to take. He comes up the ramp and gets slammed by Suppy's roach force. Suppy needs to be a little bit careful to not overcommit here because, of course, the opposite thing can happen to him. Things are looking pretty good for him right now, though. We have a very, very even trade in roaches. Suppy continuing to chase across the map. Maybe not the best idea. I think he might need to pull back now because the reinforcements could turn around, or we could get a good engagement from Revival with a defensive concave here as well. And Suppy realizes that. He takes the watchtower, makes sure he knows where his opponent is, and then backs off. But throughout this entire time, we've had Suppy sitting handily on a third base. But you know what the crazy thing is? He's only on 40 drones.
I don't think he's even touched that third base once. Every single mineral field and gas is at full income. And he hasn't had that much of an opportunity because he's been so pressured to build units. But after that big win he just had in that engagement, Now all of a sudden he could produce a round of 20 drones probably, and he could still defend.
I'm a bit concerned if he does that, though, because there's this nasty time window where there's going to be 2-2 available without +2 available for Suppy here. And that could be a big opportunity. And Revival, as you can see, is not building drones. He's putting a third down, but he's building more roaches. He realizes there is an opportunity here. He knows his opponent only has one evolution chamber. He could get a solid upgrade advantage.
Suppy's going to have to use these ramps to defend his attack. Of course, upgrade disadvantage, but Suppy can have the positional advantage if he postures defensively very well.
Yeah, and that's what it all comes down to. In Roach versus Roach with no Infestor involved and no Hydras, it comes entirely down to the engagement arc, because that range 3 can be an absolute handicap to any units that happen to suffer from having it. And if you're in a good position where you can get as many shots off as possible, then that's awesome. I love this play from Revival, consistently contaminating his opponent's hatchery. Great play. The reason, of course, for that being you can't inject, you can't actually get lava out of that, so it's a pretty crucial idea. If we look at unit count, we now see 56 to 49, and we also see that that upgrade advantage is going to kick in, but it's 56 in favor of Suppy here. So we will see just how important this, never mind, it is actually not Suppy at all, it is Revival. Revival has the upgrade advantage, he's going for Hydras here as well. This is a dangerous time for Suppy, man.
It is, and he's pushing out, but his opponent is going to be maxed, and his army isn't quite maxed yet. He's still trying to drone up that third base. Of course, Revival, it's weird, he took his third so much later, but Suppy only mined his third for maybe like 20-30 seconds before Revival's third was complete. So Revival never really had an economic disadvantage this game. One of the downsides is because he had so many more drones for such a big chunk of the game, he's actually going to mine out his main and natural significantly before Suppy will.
Yeah, which means that Revival at that point really needs to take a good fight and make sure he doesn't lose his third base at that point, because if a counterattack hits the third, then pretty much game over, because you're not going to have any money left to mine and remax your army. Revival is charging forward with 56 roaches, 12 Hydras are on the way as well. Doesn't have Hydra speed, so that's a potential disadvantage there. These Hydras could be caught out and eliminated, but this is looking scary. It is going to hit before +2 armor, although it didn't hit before +2 attack. It will make a little difference, not a huge amount, because of course it is Roach on Roach and they're slow big hitters here. Suppy now posturing. He needs to get this good engagement arc. Revival's going to charge forward. Suppy creates the great engagement arc here. Will this be enough to defend against it? There's a lot of fire coming down on both sides at the moment, but we are seeing Suppy with the edge. The Hydras may very well contribute here for Revival, but Suppy definitely has the edge in this engagement. He is going to crush forward. He brings his own Hydralisks into the fray. Revival's going to lose his entire army.
What a beautiful positioning that battle by Suppy. Revival tried to get his own concave, but he was taking so much damage while he was trying to set that up. And Suppy with, again, the defender's advantage, giving him a big win.
Yeah, it just seems like maybe there was an opportunity that Revival could have used to take that big upgrade lead and strike at that point, but he waited for the Hydralisks, which is definitely not a bad idea, but Suppy had his own, and Suppy had the defender's concave, and with no infestors in play, it means that you don't really have a lot of control as to where your opponent actually goes and how they angle together. Suppy is now going to attempt to counter-attack here. The unit counting station clearly indicates that Suppy has a large lead in both Hydralisks and Roaches. There are only 5 more coming on the field here, and Suppy could very easily, and I would think he's certainly going to kill the 4th. I don't think there's a question about that, assuming that he finds it. And then he may posture towards the 3rd base.
Going towards the 4th is the right call, of course. While he does have unit advantage, if he tries to push towards the natural, his opponent's hatcheries are all right there.
Exactly.
The rally difference is so big.
Not a good idea.
4th is much further from Revival's reinforcements.
Well, Revival sees it coming and is able to move his army into position. Suppy, of course, will now try and pull the enemy army out of position, which means that he will be able to get superior concave. However, that didn't happen. Revival's too smart for that. He gets a good engagement here. He is able to use the creep to speed forward and get additional hits. Suppy does not have a good engagement arc here, and as a direct result, with Revival's reinforcements coming in, I don't see Suppy actually winning this battle. He does have more numbers, admittedly, and with the Roach Force going down here, he is able to make his way through, and where are the reinforcements? There aren't any, and even with that inferior concave, Suppy is able to crush that army.
Taking a fight a little bit further away from the reinforcement spots where Revival.
Very smart.
Super, super important for Suppy. Now that 4th of Rivals is probably going to go down. I don't think he can get enough units there in time to save that hatchery.
No, it looks unlikely. A nice use of the burrow here. There is no Overseer around the area to actually help him kill the drones, so he's able to save that. Takes a little bit of damage from the Broodlings as well, which is never good. Oh, now is not the time to unburrow. It really, really is not. Another engagement comes in. Revival doesn't... He's got a superior Roach count here, but the Hydralisks at the back will certainly help. Suppy is able to come in from the right flank as well, and once again, Revival takes a bad engagement against Suppy and is resulting in a huge lead, and there's the GG. A convincing game one there for Suppy, I feel.
Really beautifully played. I think it's important to note that he was actually behind an economy for 90% of that game.
Yeah, he was.
Even when he was on 3 bases, he was 3 bases on 34 drones against an opponent who was on 50.
Exactly. The only thing you're getting there is a lava advantage, and not a big one either.
I mean, not one you could even use going roaches. It was for the speed lanes, it was huge.
Yeah, he lost his queen at the third as well, so he wasn't getting injected there for a while. So, yeah, that was a really well played engagement. I think it shows intelligence there from Suppy, who honestly is like looking seriously stressed out after that game. I've got to say, I'm seeing sweat on the face there. That's crazy, and it was a tense game. He had to take engagement after engagement that was good for him. Revival did not manage to do that, and as a direct result, Suppy kept taking those good fights. The upgrades equalized, Revival's advantage evaporates, and then Suppy is able to take that game. Really convincing. Definitely not what I would call a super high energetic game. I mean, it's Roach Hydra, it's only going to go so far, but a very intelligent game there from Suppy.
A little bit of Roach Hydra can be refreshing because we used to see it all the time in Wings of Liberty, but it's been a little while.
Well, we have seen a lot of Mutalisks lately, and I don't know about you, but watching 40 Mutalisks fight is like just seeing a pack of seagulls diving after bread. That is not an interesting thing to watch at all, but yeah, things are getting shifted up right here in the Zerg vs. Zerg. Suppy takes the lead with 1 game in this best-of-3 series. Of course, if he wins this, he gets the grand prize of facing Hero, which, not ideal, but like if anyone is positive enough to actually beat Hero and say, I don't care about the odds, I don't care about how good a player you are, I'm going to take you down anyway, it's got to be him, right? It's got to be Suppy.
So, of course, up 1-0, Revival will have a shot to even the score in game number 2. We'll be right back after a short break.